Welcome to the Ascension Stargate podcast series, where we discuss the aspects of human consciousness, spirituality, metaphysics and philosophy, energy, extraterrestrial life, science, biology, and the alchemy of higher states of beingness, all from a heart-centered perspective. I am your host and guide, Glenn Mate, and let's begin our journey.
And welcome everybody to another podcast. This is the Ascension Stargate podcast series, and today we have another guest that is very near and dear to my heart. She speaks the same language that I do, and that makes it super interesting. Kerry Jehanne-Guadalupe is a light language practitioner, a holistic healing educator, author, and speaker. Her work focuses on the power of light language as an energy healing modality, as well as light language for intuitive readings. As a passionate writer and educator, Kerry explores consciousness, wellness, and transformation through her blog and published books. And of course, she also does teaching and private sessions. Let's give a big warm welcome to Kerry. Thank you for joining us today. It's so great to have you with us.
Thank you, Glenn. It's such a blessing to have this opportunity to connect with you right today, and I really appreciate being here with you.
Thank you so much for that. And I am so blessed and honored because Kerry and I got to meet in person last year, post-event at Mount Shasta. So we had that very opening, balanced energy of Mount Shasta, and we were both so enlightened and enriched. And I'm glad that we made this connection because this is the opportune time to continue to help our masses of people awaken and learn and focus and find the right modalities for them to create the spiritual journey that they've always been on. And speaking about spiritual journeys, Kerry, I would love to hear how your spiritual journey evolved and where your gifts started to arise, whether it be in childhood or through later years. Let's tell the story about Kerry.
Thank you for the question. So I would say that I entered into the world of, I'll say, alternative wellness modalities when I was hurt with a back injury, and also my thyroid was very out of whack. And so I had one doctor telling me that my thyroid would need to be cut out or kill it through radioactive iodine. And there was a physical therapist that was like, oh, you'll never be able to bend over and tie your shoes again. And I would say at the time, I definitely didn't feel connected to my spirit. I didn't have an essence of that. I'm somewhere in my 20s by now. And but there is something that said, no, you don't have access to my thyroid. And yes, I'm going to be able to be really healthy in the spine again. And so I went into the alternative realm because of that. But then when I went in, I also realized that I have so much other healing to do. And so I went in kind of like with this wounded bird. You know, there was some part of me that knew bigger possibilities, but there also had this kind of consciousness of I'm the hurt one. I didn't embody any kind of archetype of I could be of service. And so one of the things I did was I went into transformational breathwork, and I loved it so much that I kept going to the trainings. But when I went into the trainings, it's really to become a facilitator. But I had no interest, and I was very upfront that I did not want to be a facilitator. I was there to learn and to receive, and I'm the one that needed help. But it came a time where in the class, I had to be the one to practice on somebody else, and I was so resistant. And I was doing this session, and I touched her shoulder, and I was like, I felt that. You know, like, I was like, do you feel that? She goes, Kerry, I do. That hurts, you know? I was like, and I was like, didn't know what to do with that. And that it was really fun to explore, you know, where I was feeling tension on the body. And so I could say that part of my gifts were opening up in those kind of moments, but I didn't own them or know what to do with them. And even after that session, she sat up and says, Kerry, you have to do this. Like, that was really great. But it didn't have a place to land. Her feedback didn't land in my mind. It didn't land in my heart. Like I didn't know how to orient to me being the one to be of service. And it took 3 years. It took 3 years from that moment to actually start offering, whether it was EFT sessions or breathwork sessions or whatever else other modalities that I was getting into. So it's definitely been a progression. But I could say that some of those kind of moments and trainings were openings for me that at the time I wasn't even labeling them as such.
Mm. It's so interesting that sometimes what we consider the hardship, sustaining a back injury and looking for answers and finding that the modern medicine just isn't the way that is speaking to us, right? It's not speaking not just to us logically, but it's speaking in an energetic sense,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that that's where some part of my knowing was like, I'm not connecting with this. But at that time, I wouldn't even say, oh, I have a knowing or my body saying something. I was just literally, I think even just wanting to find answers is my spirit working without me realizing it was my spirit working. And so it was just interesting. I didn't have the languaging for it, but there was some sort of, this isn't the door. And you don't have my truth, which is really interesting because part of it was my thyroid so out of whack, and the other part's my spine, and so it's the both of those to me really represent like being in one's truth and one's knowing, and yeah.
And thank goodness that you listen to all of that spirit and intuitive information, because when we start to get away from that particular incident in that time and space and we look back and like, wow, that really was a big moment of choice. And maybe in the moment itself it didn't seem very big, but it directed you on this new pathway that allowed you to become more authentic, to be more of that person that you were always truly meant to be. And, it's funny because I myself had some of the same experiences where, I was a career firefighter for a few decades and I had a injury that I sustained to my back, and I just didn't resonate with all of the modern medicine that said the only way you're ever going to be pain free is if you have the surgery. I'm the surgeon that's going to do it. This is what we're going to do. This is the plan. I've done this plan dozens and trillions of times and it works. And, you know, but yet it's still not resonating. There's something else that's within us that's saying there's another way, there's another option. And it may not be clear in this very moment, but I'm going to give you something that just doesn't feel like it's resonating, right?
Right. Right. And I love that. I think more and more that these inner knowings are part of more of our culture, not just in the outskirts of the culture, but just in I think our evolution as humans, that having these knowings of where I should be going or what's my most authentic self in this day, like that there's more room for that than these, I know I have your answer. And I'm like, you have maybe an answer, but let me find mine, and then I will come to you and we can have a chit chat, or I find someone else to have a chit chat with, so I love that there are just, for me, it seems like there's more space for even this kind of languaging in our culture.
Right. And we're starting as a culture, as a human society, to embody all of these feelings, right? These maybe intuitive hits, maybe that gut feeling, maybe that thought that just keeps recurring in my mind. And why is that, so prominent? Why am I keep resulting back? Like, why am I not listening to these medical professionals that have years of training and experience, yet it just doesn't feel right, right? There's something that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for you, you've had that experience and you started to find these other modalities as a healing mechanism, right?
Mm-hmm.
So breath work
Yeah.
being one of them, and such important work that we don't necessarily put a lot of value on it because we're doing it unconsciously all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
But when we change and flip that around, and now we're doing conscious breath work, and we have a purpose and an intention, things shift. Do you want to talk a little bit more about how that started to provide you a shift and a different perception?
Mm-hmm. One thing I love about the breath work is that we would ask for perfect remembrance for a session. Meaning that if during a session something is getting released, some emotions are getting released, if our mental body needs to know, it will know. If not, we're just releasing. And so, with that in mind, what we would do is have this connected breath that was really much geared towards making sure it's into the belly, then all the way up through our respiratory system, with this intent of going into the subconscious mind of mine that's stored in my physical body. And by connecting our breath, we are creating a higher vibration. And so when we go into those lower places of like grief or suppressed rage or fear, whatever it is, we've already created a higher vibration with our breath that the lower vibrations of fear, anger, grief, whatever it might be, have a place to entrain into even within our own field. And so it was so empowering to be like, wait, it's so super duper safe and actually kind of fun to go into these places knowing that I'm also creating a space for them to get trained into. I'm not going in to dwell there. I'm not going in because I might not ever get out. Like, no, I'm going in and let's see what my own breath can do. How can I work with my breath so efficiently that it is providing me the next level of freedom or liberation from the weight that I've carried. And so for me, the breath work, it was so empowering because it also was not someone else doing something to me necessarily. Like, yes, there's practitioners, but it was my own breath that was following even the guidance of the practitioners. Okay, Kerry, breathe more into the belly, try to get more air into the heart, pressing on certain points to help me release stuck energy. So the use of the practitioner is so beautiful. Excuse me. And also because of their energy field and what they have transmuted. And so when we're in the energy field of someone else that has done such deep and beautiful work, it's helpful. But I think at that time, it was so important for me to do things for myself and have even EFT, you're familiar with the tapping modality, that too is like, okay, I can work with my own meridians. I can work with my own system because I think I had grown up with such a lack of personal power and handing my power over and feeling like everyone else is going to be choosing for me, or to like I need some sort of outside assistance in order to become the next version of myself. And in a very disempowering way, rather than, wow, I'm going to find a practitioner that's going to help me, move. So it's very different. And so I think that the breath work was such a great start for me in many ways. And though I don't do sessions of breath work now for clients, there is so much in these different trainings, whether it was breath work or EFT, or I studied Asian diagnostics and I studied a modality called Hollowave. There were so many things from those trainings that have helped me in the light language sessions today. Even if there was, I was studying a lot of energy work before the light language opened for me, and it was very detailed energy work. And it was such a great platform for me so that when the light language opened, I was like, oh, I can kind of track the light language, which is like, vast and multidimensional. But I can always we're in the ancestral line. Or, this is a past life imprint. Or we're at age 4. We're in some wonky heart energy. So I could start to be able to track the light language as soon as it opened because I had these other years of studying other modalities and paying attention to energy through these different ways. Even in breath work, for that matter, you're really kind of tracking energy in someone's body and opening up, helping them in their own journey of opening up to, the freedom or liberation, whatever it might be that they're looking for. So I'm really grateful for all of it. And I think that coming into light language, I really needed that kind of foundation for myself. And then also working with light language to see how it works with me, and how it's helped me, so that when I'm in service to other people, I have even the languaging to talk to them about it. So no, it's been a beautiful journey. And even those tough moments of feeling stuck or whatever it might be, like, it's so worth it. And yeah, wouldn't trade it up for anything.
And what a beautiful message in that story, the story of you taking your power back, right? So you went to the practitioners to learn the modalities and to learn how you can reintegrate all of the things that you can do yourself, right? So the practitioner is only facilitating the energetic presence and upgrade of energy, so you can step into that and regain your power by doing things yourself that really speak to you, that very truly, very deeply in every cell, that I'm doing this for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I have a capacity for it. I mean, how much it feels really empowering when we access our own capacity.
Right.
To
It's that self-perpetuation. This is me doing something for me. Not that I wouldn't want to receive something from another practitioner, but the best way that really resonates with who we are as human beings is when we can do something for ourselves. And it's such a great story. And I want to take that another step further, because I know that from breathwork, you've had many different modalities until you got to the light language piece. So I want to kind of fill in some of the gaps, because we speak about light language, and we're going to get to that because that's super important. But I want to make sure that we all understand your journey within your story and how you found that light language. So let's talk about the next step.
Mm-hmm. So there is an energy modality that I was working with that opened me up to the light language that would come through my hands. And that was really fun, and I can incorporate that right into the work I was doing. And really easy. I didn't have any kind of reservations about that. And so that was about 10 years ago, around 2015. And then 2 years later, I was at a Sundance ceremony. I was a sun dancer in a ceremony, and we were doing a healing round on the third day, and I was just doing the light language with my hands and like going through the line and having a lot of fun. And then all of a sudden I had this feeling of I'm supposed to say something, and I was like, oh yeah, that wouldn't be a good idea, we're not supposed to talk right now. And then I was like, no, I think I'm supposed to say something. And so I just let it out. And it was so fun. And I knew what it was because I had heard 2 other people channeling light language. So I wasn't at all weirded out about it. And I also love that when I opened up to the verbal light language, I was already within the context of supporting other people. Right, so I was already doing light language, and it got married into that rather than this kind of outside experience, outside of some kind of healing round. It happened within a healing round, so it was kind of in that moment was marrying what I was already doing, and so it was really, really fun. And then I came home, and I was really shy about it. Like in that context, okay, but even bringing it into my healing work with clients was really. Like I would go to my friends and be like, hey, I can do light language. Do you want to hear some? And they're like, yeah. It's almost like on the down low, you're like in the back corner, of the office kind of thing. And then it got brought into my work. I was doing a group session with my good friend Sierra, and she had said, Kerry, I think there's supposed to be a sound of some sort. And I was like, I hope it's not light language. In my head. And she goes, well, I'll ohm. So she has this beautiful voice, and she ohmed 3 times. And I was like, oh, thank goodness I'm not doing light language in front of these people. That's my closet secret. And she finished ohming and said, no, that wasn't it. That's not really, that we need something different. There is something that's being called. And I said, okay, let me try a little bit of light language. And so I stood up and I did like under a minute of light language. And I sat down, and this woman said, Kerry, you sound like a Muppet, but I felt that. I felt that. And so that was the first feedback, because the light language for me has changed over the years. When I first came through, it was only spoken, and it had a very kind of Hebrew/Japanese feel to it. Like people that Kerry, it sounds like if you're combining these two different languages, which was fascinating unto itself, and it's evolved since then. But in the beginning, it was kind of funny. And so I would start in my even like small groups or individual sessions really feeling like called to do the light language. But I came with this is a little awkward. I don't know if you're going to be open to it. And people were like, Kerry, like, we love it. We feel it. And almost with them saying, if you can just get over yourself, that would be great. Because we actually really like the light language. And we're not the ones thinking that this is strange or anything like that. So it was really helpful that they were like, you can drop that, you can, and just bring it. And so it was really helpful for me to step into it with just doing the verbal light language along with the hands, because of the feedback. People were like, we're so open to this and we really love it. And it was almost them encouraging me just to own it, stand in my power, get over it. Like, you're not weird. This is a gift, and we're utilizing it. So, yeah. So can you bring it? And then at some point, it became the only thing that I do is just offer light language sessions, and still, as I said before, incorporate other learnings from the different modalities. Even something like from EFT, even though in the light language I don't feel like we're tapping on points necessarily, there is these concepts of we can want to keep an injury because there's a benefit to it. I think they termed it like secondary benefits or something like that. So when someone is, say, stuck with lower back pain, that having that awareness helps me ask them the right questions of, is there any kind of benefit to this back pain? Like getting you out of family dinners because you actually don't want to go, and now you have an excuse, and so just certain things that I learned from studying the different modalities will come in really interesting ways into the debriefing part of a light language session. And so they've all been really helpful. Yeah, so for the most part, I utilize light language as an energy healing modality, but then also to like sense into objects or to help with intuitive readings that are part of a session. But it's been really fun. Yeah.
I love that story, because I can absolutely resonate with your beginnings in light language. And the more that we kind of talk about this, I think it brings it to the surface for other people that, have this feeling in my throat chakra, and I feel like I gotta say something, but I'm so frightened to say what needs to come out, and I don't know what it is. It's just gibberish. It sounds kind of crazy. And for me, I started doing light language in my ceremonies. I'm like, I feel like I gotta say something. And I'm like, who cares? I'm in my bedroom. I'm at my altar. Nobody's here. I'm not going to be judged. Right? So I just started doing it. And then I started recording myself. I'm like, boy, this sounds like Japanese. I'm like, shish, sha, 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 sha. I'm like, and that's how it first started coming out for me as well. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go with this. I don't know what light language is. I don't know what I'm speaking, but it feels like it's appropriate. Like, this matches with what I'm doing. This matches with the energy and the presence that I'm feeling. And as I came out with that, I just happened to be in Sedona with Ruben Langdon, just finished a retreat. I was doing some photography work for Ruben Langdon, and we're at a Japanese restaurant going to interview this woman, and her name is Rika Amante, who is the foremost expert on light language. So how does this happen? So I'm just taking, shots of them and whatnot at the restaurant as they're doing the live broadcast on Ruben's show. And he says, Glenn, come here. I'm like, what do you need? Do you want me to get a picture? He's like, no, I want you to do your light language. I'm like on the spot, in front of the expert, in front of an audience that's live, and in front of an audience that's being broadcasted on Ruben's show. No pressure. And that's when I got my confirmation. And Rica Amante said, "You are absolutely speaking light language. This is what you said. This is your energetic presence. This is what you're doing." And I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. So, it's so absurd to think that we could be speaking something that actually has healing properties, has the ability to activate latent codes in DNA in other people, and that it has these messages. So let's get into exactly our definitions of what light language is. So now we can further discuss that and get into some of the nitty and gritty about light language.
I love your story, by the way. And it's so fun. Like, we got to meet at the expo, but I didn't realize we had so many parallels. And so it's really fun to speak with you about even how our stories sync up. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's really fun. So what I've done over the years is I think that I've kind of narrowed the definition to help people understand it as an energy healing modality. And so I say that it's a multidimensional channeled language that is medicinal in nature, that can be utilized as an energy healing modality and for other things. And I emphasize that it's nonlinear, right? And that it's not a memorized language. It's not like English or Spanish, which we've memorized. It's not those regions of the brain, but it's a nonlinear language that is embedded with frequencies of sound and light. And sound and light are carriers of consciousness. And so what I really emphasize is that our higher self, that's a nonlinear aspect of us. And our higher self can work with the nonlinear language. So I am, say, doing a channeling of light language, and someone's higher self is going to act as the bridge between the nonlinear language and their mental, emotional, and physical levels of their being. And we'll use it only as appropriately. And so I don't come in and work on people. I'm not moving people's energy around, which is so fun about light language. I do the transmission, and then I do the best I can to track how their higher self and human self are utilizing the codes embedded in the light language. And so the way I come to it is through that kind of orientation to light language. And then oftentimes I relate it to other energy healing modalities just to ground it. Just like in Reiki or even in breath work, this is going to help us clear out some limiting beliefs or some stuck energy, and then help us orient to our next level of wellness or truth or healthier relationships or healthier food choices, whatever it might be. And so I really try to ground this very vast multidimensional encoded language into, hey, this is going to help just like other modalities have helped. And you're going to feel things just like other modalities. You might feel hot, you might feel cold, you might feel tingly. If I'm called to use the drum, many people just feel like they've gone on some sort of shamanic journey in the light language, and they'll feel they might have visions or they might not, but there's energy movement that they can feel. So the way that I come to light language is through that kind of orientation. I don't know if it's quote unquote a definition, so I'm looking forward to hearing how you speak about it and what how you orient to it. And then I guess just the other thing I also want to add is that it's almost like I can turn the dial in terms of intent. So I'm working, like I have an intent, this is for energy healing. And then I can almost turn the dial a little bit and ask to channel light language that will help me offer a message or like information for someone that I'm working with. And then I can turn the dial a little bit more and say, okay, can you just help me sense into this particular object? What is the frequency of this object? So I'm not working on the object, I'm not clearing it, but can you tell me the frequency of it? And the light language will let me know what kind of frequency it is. and then to do house clearings and stuff like that. So it's almost like depending upon where I fit the dial is also how I would orient to what light language is. And it's really vast. So anyway, I would love to hear what you, yeah, anything from
I'd
your
love to
perspective.
share. So, I completely and totally agree with you. It's like, um, I'll call it the dial of intention, right? And we're constantly, as light language practitioners, shifting the dial of the intention. So, in my practice, I go out and I do grid work on the land. So where I feel that there is distortion or negativity, or there is some traumatic resonance, I will direct my light language to help recreate a sustainable connection of energy. And sometimes I see it physically, even though my eyes are closed, I'm seeing behind the veil, so to speak. And then I physically feel the change in energy frequency. So I use it for that. And then I also use it in ceremony because it is absolutely grounding. Right. So when we're ready to get on with our ceremony and we're setting our intentions, and we want to make sure that the space is clear and cohesive, right? The lightly, and I'm like, what am I doing already? They just want to go. They just want to go. It's funny, but as soon as I start talking about it, it starts to come through. And I'm sure you're the same way, where it's like the light goes on and all of a sudden, like, oh, I'm here, I'm present. I'm available for you in whatever way. And then in other modalities, if I'm working with a client or working with a group, the light language will come through. And then just behind it, it's like pause, and then there's a channeled message behind it. That it could be specific for one person or global as maybe a setting for whatever purpose we might be there, or something that might come through from what I call a higher dimensional being that I might be connected to in that moment. And this is the message that they would like to share with the group or humanity at this time. And, I use this for all different types of things. I probably don't do enough of it, because, first off, a guy being this. Now, here's, the manly man guy,
Yeah.
firefighter, light language practitioner. What is wrong with this dude, right?
Yeah.
Well, just like everybody else, I've had a spiritual journey. We'll call it the hero's journey because everybody is familiar with that term, where you go through the dark night of the soul, and then all of a sudden you start to reblossom in a way that you never expected. And if you told me 15 years ago, Glenn, you're going to go from the technical rescue expert traveling all over the world, talking about and teaching technical rescue, and then in the next breath, you're going to go all around the world talking and teaching about light language and extraterrestrial beings and consciousness and becoming heart-centered. I'm going to like, they don't go together.
No, they're like two different people, and there's no bridge that I can
Right.
see between these two different versions of myself.
But, I find that in my experience, in my humble experience, that light language is the oldest form of language that is not earth-based. It's galactic, meaning that wherever you are in the cosmos, whatever your perspective is from whatever planetary system, this is the universal language. And it comes in the forms of sound. It comes in the form of sight or dance. And it also comes in the form of symbology and art. And they can be expressed all at the same time or individually, and they all contain certain messages. And for lack of a better explanation, I call it a packed thought form, meaning that you're getting all the information about one particular subject. It's like, here's the Britannica, or here's all of the volumes, or here's all of the Google searches in this one transmission. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of bytes of information that we are receiving. And sometimes, unbeknownst to us, we don't really know what's happening, and something might happen days later. Like, wow, that's unusual. How did that integrate with me?
Yeah.
And that's what my definition of light language is. It's very expansive. It's very healing. And depending on your intent or the intent of the practitioner or speaker and the need of the receiver, when those frequencies match together, something changes. And it happens on a spiritual, on a physical, on a DNA level, and on an energetic body of our emotional body, our etheric body, our spiritual body. It just bounces through all of the layers of the humanness that we contain in this container as a physical being. So that's my kind of expansive, expressive definition of light language.
I love it. You know, I also love too where like there's so many parallels and you get the whole dial thing. I was like, oh, we speak so similarly about something that's so vast, and it just really, I know there's something special in that for me.
So I think maybe we should give each a little transmission so our listeners can receive something and experience, and then we can go into maybe some stories on what we've done with our light language and how we've, assisted people or changed things or modified things, and tell a little bit about how really the nitty-gritty of all of what we're actually doing.
Sounds good. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
Oh, ladies first, please.
Okay, I'll do. Okay, great. Okay, have fun. Okay, so I get just for some reason I get oriented to time sometimes before I dive in, so I get about like 4 minutes, give or take, I'm not so sure why that sometimes comes through, but just a sense of a span of time. Okay, more information. Okay, okay, get grounded for a moment. I just have to say that it's such an honor to do some light language for you. I'm like, this is not a message from, I'm just like, I'm so happy, thank you for this, and it's also, I do just have to say that when people come into our path, it's such a blessing and an honor. Like, oh, you're open to receiving this, and I get to be a part of this part of your journey for a little bit, and so it's just a blessing, and it just made me feel like a little kid. Okay, so now we can get to work. Okay. Hundla henda helan chandua helo shilantandan kulo lantande shilantandando la clandele helo humalan helo humani hele hela hela inda shialo humalayan tielantan clandando lolani humala shilan clandando land shilandandele helantando shi kromalande lolo mando shilandele helelondele clandando lola shila clandela hi kumalalantilantan shanantilantalati clandandando lolani kromalala hilele klola shila clando humalelelele hunde helalan hello humani hello lomalan helelelele helayan shalantando kromalan delele hello man clando shi hello man klilele hello man klilele humalan halo hello humali hello humali helayan shalantando dando laki humalala hilan hello humalile hello lomalilo humalayan shali humalila shile hello malilo malo mando mande humalala ti hello lumi helelilo man klanda Shalan Kalandan Adati Ayalan Kalandashi Duma Kalandan Adati Ayalan Kalando Maki Ayalo Shalan Kalan Kulo Lati Shala Kalandan Dalaki Balantande Ne Dulan Kalande Shala Klialo Dumakan Ele Ayalantande Shala Kan Dene.
Yay! I love that. Thank you so much for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as giving feedback from the experiencer as the receiver, which I'm so very grateful for, I felt the resonance deep within my heart, within my third eye, and of course, the top of the crown. So, what I felt was a realignment of those energetic centers that, you know, brought a very soft, compassionate resonance and very tender opening. So thank you for that.
Thank you for being open to it. It was really fun. I was like, oh, we might do light language today, but I wasn't thinking to do some for you specifically. So that was where I was like, oh, I feel like a little kid. I get to do light language for Glenn. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yes, that's the best. So thank you for sharing that with me and giving me that wonderful, beautiful gift today. And in return, I would like to give you some light language, and of course, all of our listeners that are tuning in to better understand the aspects of light language. And I have that very same earthy type light language. So I'm just going to center for a moment, and you'll see my hands move. You'll see my eyes will be closed, and I will be channeling into that light language. Okoya tona ya katana ya shukutua nane ya tete ke tua nane o koa shute tana no ka u noyoto eseke na utua shakata na e te nonoyoto a utu seke ta aneata e tu nonoyakate shoata ka te noneata tua na katana ya shute a kata noneata. Remember that your heart is more than just the life-giving center of your circulatory system. Your heart is always giving you the information that sometimes you do not discern as information. The attunement into this field allows for greater expansion. For what it does is it creates a higher level of awareness. And within that awareness, it provides you many things. One would be a change in perception. And two, it provides you with further choice. So whenever you may think that there are limited amounts of choice in your day, when you tune back into the frequency of your heart, you will find that there are endless choices. And yet, you might disregard some of them as just mere happenstance. But again, that too is a choice that you have made. So beware, be mindful, be heartful, and be in unity with the frequency that comes through your heart.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for allowing me to give some of my light language today. So what a wonderful exchange that has been. Talk about energy for energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
very cool.
fun. Hmm. I could feel like things in my field shifting and loosening and releasing. And as soon as you started, I was like, oh, and I can feel where this is in my field. And okay, see you later, whatever that was, like, so no, it's like, it's so efficient and effective,
Mm.
in as a modality. And I just really appreciate receiving in this moment. So thank you so much.
Oh, my
Yeah.
pleasure. My pleasure. So we've now given some examples of what light language is, our definition of what it is, and how we are perceiving it. And let's get into some of the discussion about how we're integrating this into our work and what we're doing, as far as to help humanity and the problems that people come to us, and how we're able to assist them, on their journey, on their moving through their hero's journey, or just, through their increasing of their own awareness and their own fields of energy. So if you could share some of the stories, and of course you don't have to give any client names, but just some of the things that stand out that, people come to you, and how we start to resolve these issues.
Hmm. So there's such a wide range. And so one of the things that I do is before I meet with someone is just, set this intent that this is such a safe, sacred space that we can go anywhere. Do they need to go into, some up leveling of their personal power, or is it some deep pain, or wherever it might be? And so there is such a like an openness to where do we go. And oftentimes there's a lot of limiting beliefs that will come up to be re-examined and then destructured in a way. And so now that range of limiting beliefs is, as humans, we have a universe of opportunities to have limiting beliefs. There's so many possibilities there. Um, and I would say, just almost generally speaking, um, it's there's like this like I found myself at a wall is often where a session might start, where someone's been doing their work and they've kind of say gone to their next level of well-being, and then this plateaus and they're like, oh, now I feel stuck at this part, and there's like, I need more of something. I need more of me to come online is something I'll hear very often. And whether that's someone being able to feel safe in speaking their truth, or not being so disassociated when they are in a really difficult situation, or they feel like they're handing over their clarity to somebody else. Like, you have my answer, or they're searching elsewhere for something like that, and they want to come home into themselves. Um, there's oftentimes in a session someone will ask me to sense into if something is for their highest interest. Whether this is like, should I go and do this course? And I would never tell someone you should or should not do that. But it's fun just to open that door. And in terms of like, well, let's see, like, I'm tuning in and I feel like the ultimate answer is a yes, but you're getting a no at this moment. So let's look at why, So I would, like, someone said recently, like, should I sign up for this course? And I could feel like it will be an eventually yes, but let's look at the no. Like, why do you want to sign up for it? Do you feel like that's going to be the next thing that's going to save you, or do you want to do it because you feel a lack? How are you orienting to the course is what needed the fine tuning, and then it was a yes. And so to do it for her. And I think the way that I help with that too is not to ever give answers, but to see, like, where is that question coming from? What are we really sensing into? What is this even? Yes, no, should I do this or not? How are we orienting to this particular thing that we're questioning? if it's in our highest interest, And so it's fun to go there without anything of, I need someone's answer, or, taking someone's personal power away. But after we kind of unpack why it might have been a no before a yes, that's the information that's helpful. And so even just sensing into helping people sense into those questions. And then a lot of entanglement. Hey, can you sense into my dynamic with a coworker, or whatever it might be, a parent, and then accessing the information that's helpful for them to kind of neutralize their aspect of it, whether the other person changes or not, but to go into a more expanded, neutral place within themselves as, say, a coworker is having a moment of not being so kind or whatever it might be. So it feels very open, and the sessions are so diverse. There's some people that will come in, they set the intent, and I will do the 35-40 minute transmission of light language, and they journey with it, and we talk after. And there's others that I barely do any verbal light language, and I just work with my hands as they're sharing their experience, and they're having their kind of knowings come about, and then only tune into the verbal light language if they need information that I can't access without the help of light language. And so I'm like, okay, give me a moment, let me see what I can tune into, and then always giving it back, like, how does this feel? This is what I'm sensing. What is your truth? And really kind of doing a dance between me and whomever I'm working with. And then on a larger scale, if I say I'm doing group sessions, either through Zoom or in person, then it's not so the fine-tuning from my side, because I don't track in a group. I just rest in my heart and just allow the light language to come through, and then open a place for people to share what they're experiencing. And then another way that the light language has been really as a beautiful companion is in doing crisis work for the planet. And it's similar to, I think, what you do in sensing into the land. And so I've done some online sessions for, say, the LA fires, or if it's for the Ukraine war, or it's for someone asked if I would do a session for the residential schools, both in the United States and in Canada, for where natives were sent. And so we open it up as a group session with that intent to go to these really hurt spaces together, and to bring light language there. And it's all free will. So if we can do something, and like someone's higher self is like, nope, I'm not, and I'm going to stay in whatever it is that I'm experiencing, and I'm not accessing this at the moment. And so I love that too. It's like we can sing the light language, and it will be used as appropriately and used in divine order with the souls who we're sending it to, or the beings or the earth. When we did it for the LA fires, it was for any being that was down there. So I really love it. It's so versatile. Yeah. And then to do house clearings with it as well. It's a really beautiful purifier of space.
I love that. And, we have so many similarities in the way that we're using it with, our clients, and trying to help them transition through different things, or to open a certain perception of things. One of the things that I found myself in a set of circumstances, I happened to be in Nevada at an ancient Hopi Indian petroglyph site. And it's deep in a canyon, and I'm walking through a canyon, and up along the top of the canyon, I see a herd of rams, and they're big. So, me at 175 pounds versus a ram that's, 300, 400, 500 pounds. And somewhat of a unique situation. So I'm starting to enter the area of the petroglyphs, and I don't see the rams, and all of a sudden I'm about 35, 40 feet up a side of a rock cliff. And all of a sudden this ram comes at me. And literally, and I've got this on videotape because nobody else would believe me if I told them. This ram comes at me, and it stops about 15, 20 feet directly in front of me, eye to eye. I'm like, light language. Light language. I spoke my light language, And it looked at me and said, okay, you can be here, and ran off. I'm like, did that just happen? I've got this on tape because I continued to watch it again, and I wasn't coming from a place of fear, but I asked to have the ability to be there. I asked for the presence to be there because it was a very sacred site and nobody else was there. I mean, this is like the granddaddy of all petroglyph sites, and there's nobody there, just me and this ram. So I found that through my light language, with my intention, I can also communicate with the animal kingdom, which I found fascinating. Just
Yeah.
another door of light language, right?
Hmm. I was did a group session on Monday. Well, first of all, what an amazing and beautiful story. And you could tell me that, and I would believe it even without the film. Yeah. So in a group session on Monday, the working with animals came up, and so I do work with animals. But someone asked if I, in the capacity of like an animal communicator, and I said no. I can work with the light language, and then I don't necessarily ask. Excuse me. I don't necessarily ask the animal for information. I'll ask one of my guides to translate the animal. So, because I'm not connected that way, but what it can do is speak in light language to deliver a message to the pet, and that's been really really fun. Where I'm just really trusting that this is as a not as an animal communicator, but as a channel of light language to send a message to the pet, and then to receive a message back through light language, and then helping like with the help of my guides to understand what this pet is trying to communicate. And so it's been fun to use light language for that as well. So it's great to hear your story about working with this ram and the light language, and yeah, how that came in
it's
so
it's such a
perfectly.
wonderful gift, and I have to say, from my perspective, I don't consider myself gifted. I find myself as the perpetual student and always learning and always finding out that there's always more. And just when I think I know just about everything, there's always more. There will always be more. And I feel that our light language is starting to open up, and more people are going to the space of remembrance where they are starting to say, yes, that sounds so familiar, and I resonate with that, those tones, whatever it might be. It's so there's that seed of remembrance coming back, and our light language is the water and sunlight that begins to nurture that idea once again that wow, we are really much, much bigger than just the human that we've been thrown in to think that we're just so small and tiny, that we really are these vast beings with lots of experiences, not just as a human being, but of course as other types of beings as well. And I think that our light language, as we start to remember it, will unlock more and more and more so we can become more open. We can really find the authenticity of who we are, and not just as a single person, but as a multi-dimensional being, because we're speaking a multi-dimensional language, right? And we
Yeah.
know that when we utilize our light language, we're having a positive effect on more than just what we can see and perceive in the moment. We're really changing things, right?
Yeah, I feel it. I do feel like the light language speaks to our multidimensionality. And then also it speaks to our innate capacity to support each other. So I do think that anyone can channel light language. And so, and open to it. And so it's part of that, like, wow, there's this innate aspect of us that is on board to help others and assist ourselves. Like it's such a, um, I don't know, it speaks really loudly to, oh, we're here as humans to be the full expression, and we have this ability to help us to do that. So it's just, I don't know. I'm just really grateful for it. Grateful that it's also becoming more common and spoken
Yes.
about. Hmm.
Yes. And just for our listeners, if you hear different, what I'll call dialects for a better word, right? Some may resonate with you and some may not. That doesn't mean that someone is creating something that shouldn't exist. So discern with your heart and discern with your vessel of your body and say, how does that feel to me? What am I feeling? Not what am I thinking, right? Not what, get out of the analytical mind and get into the visceral. What am I feeling? What emotion may it invoke? And why is that emotion being invoked? Is that something that I may need to take a look at? Right?
Yeah.
So be open to many different sounds, dialects, visions, artwork, shapes, symbols, and of course, dance. Because
Mhm.
as we're moving, we are moving energy. And that is what dance is. You're moving energy.
I,
So, Kerry, do you have any other thoughts that you'd like to talk about light language today?
No, I do love that you brought in the discernment because I do feel like there's a whole range of different kinds of light languages and um, some that may be feeling like they're doing light language but not quite and to that's why I love that you're bringing in like discerning and then also that sense of is this something that doesn't feel comfortable because it's activating what's true for me and helping me release it, or does it not feel comfortable because this is not necessarily something that I should be receiving and working with. So I love that you bring that in. It's something that I was going to add as well. So on top of that, I'm just so grateful to have this time with you and to see where our lives have been parallel and speak about a topic that it's been so dear to me. And I'm just really grateful for this opportunity to connect with you, Glenn.
I am as well. Thank you so much, Kerry, for joining me today on our podcast. And of course, we're going to embed all of Kerry's information into the write-up, and also you'll see it at the very end of this video. So if you'd like to work with Kerry and learn more about light language, do some healing work, some EFT work, some breath work, or just learn more about what Kerry has done, she's also got some books out, so you can find them on Amazon as well. Make sure you get in contact with her. She is just the most amazing person, and I as well am so grateful for today and this opportunity to share with everybody on another Ascension Stargate podcast series. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you next time.